Well, it's Friday. It really is Friday. So it's starting to get to the point my hair moves. Anyway, yes, it's Friday. I'm excited about it. So got questions and stuff like that, and that's a pretty cool thing. Yeah, I think this is, sorry, I get an interesting package. In this package is a marinemaster. And that marinemaster was found on the beach in Hawaii after it had washed up in a storm. Someone lost it. Now this person wasn't really a watch person, but their coworker was. They said, "Hey, do you want this thing?" And he wrote to me, and we talked about it. And so I said that send it in because I'd be very curious to see what it looks like. Because literally you could see pitting. Hang on. Hold on. Crockett, you've got terrible timing. Anyway, but there was one, you could see pitting. Whoever it was, they used it in the ocean and they never cleaned it. They never ever cleaned it. You're supposed to rinse your dive watches in fresh water, in a glass of fresh water, to get all the salt out. Because even stainless steel will pit. You give it enough moisture and stuff to hold it, it'll pit. In this case, that corrosion ate a hole, based on the pictures, ate a hole right through the screw down ring for the crystal cartridge setup. I could see sand inside it. Now the gentleman did send me pictures before it got cleaned off. I actually legitimately was hoping to be able to see it in that condition, but he didn't write me until after it got cleaned. I mean, so it doesn't look that bad right now. But this thing, somebody found this thing buried in the beach. I suspect water got right inside, and I'm sure that the movement is roasted. But I'll take it apart later on and we'll see. Yeah, it had this growth on it. You still have some of the stuff here. It was almost like, one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie where all the dead pirates are getting covered in barnacles and octopuses and things. Yeah, we can definitely see we got some moisture on the inside. In fact, if you look at the dial, ooh, ooh, boy, this has liquid water in it. The water got in, it couldn't get back out. I've seen this once before, but look at the date window. Look at the date window. See how the light curls up like that? That's because it's full of water. I've seen this before, if I'm right, but I have seen this before, 100%, where there was basically all the oxygen inside the watch got eaten, and so the water is just sitting there. Yeah, look, and it even got to the, that loom is wet. Wow. Yeah, you can see the loom is wet. Look, the dial is wet. Oh my God. Yow. Well, I have to be ready if I'm going to open this thing, but I don't know that I'm going to open it now, but this thing is roasted. It's full of seawater. It's full of something. It's got liquid water in it. It's done. If it wasn't done before, it's done now. That's gnarly. I don't want to open this until I'm ready, because I don't know what's in there. And if I'm correct, well, there is water in there, but the oxygen, honey, this marinemaster, it has liquid water in it.
What?
It has liquid water in it. Look, there's water up on top of the dial.
Where did this come from? Wait, is that the one that was like randomly found or something?
Yeah, it was on the beach.
Sucks to be that dude.
Well, no, I mean, it sucks to be the gentleman who got it lost to begin with.
That's who I meant.
Oh, the original owner?
Yes, Mr. OG.
I cannot believe it's got liquid water in it. Okay, well, I got to think about what I'm going to do, but that's pretty startling. Okay. We'll see. In any case, let's do wrist check. Today's wrist check is brought to you by this watch that I'm busy polishing. This 6119, 8160, right? Oh, 8120, May 1968. This is one of those. This is one of the examples of one of the first sport tire models. Darn it. That Seiko ever did. It's beautiful. Every time I put this watch down and I kind of forget about it a little bit, and then I see it again and I'm like, oh my God, that's so pretty. Because the case is really, really clean and restrained, really pulled back, and it kind of hides. And then you get this big honking bezel on there with the deep blue, deep blue of this, and it just looks like it's just floating in space. It's just this big blue circle. I love it. This is not the correct bracelet. This is a vintage Stellux. But the one bracelet these came on, there were a couple of them. I don't like them. But I do very much like that Stellux. Just cleaning here with a little thing. Tip, by the way, after our last child outgrew diapers, we had gigantic amounts of these things. And rather than throw them away, I've actually been using them because whatever they're made of, is actually fantastic for polishing. It doesn't like take anything off. I'm not sure what it does, but this stuff is strong and it's grippy and it polishes stainless steel. I don't know how it does. And yeah, you rub anything on anything, it's going to get a little shinier. But this thing, I don't know what the deal is with this stuff, but seriously, wet, obviously you can use them clean stuff, it's great. But even if you have one clean and they're dry, they actually work really well as a polishing cloth. It's crazy how well they work. So that's my recommendation. And we're back. First question, Slim. You almost went to Kansas? Rock chalk. Yeah, Dad, insultingly I felt at the time, but legitimately, as I feel now, Dad thought that if I was that far away from him, that the level of trouble that I would be getting into there would be many times worse than the level of trouble I was getting into here, and I was absolutely getting into trouble. So in hindsight, probably a real good idea that I didn't go there, but it would have been cool. Paul Rudd was a Sigma Nu. Rob Riggle was a Fiji around the same time. I'm not 100% who Rob Riggle is, but yeah, like I said, Sigma Nu wanted me to join them. One, the whole Greek thing kind of actually didn't work for me that well, but also Sigma Nu is a dry frat. It's like, at that point I was party boy. So what's the point of joining a frat that doesn't have alcohol in it? Hang on just 1 second. What's up, Mr. Man?
I need Mommy.
I'm not sure where she is. Literally, I don't know. She might be in back. She's definitely not in the garage. There's nobody out there.
Back in the outside?
Maybe. I don't know where she is, buddy.
I know what you're doing.
Good. I'm glad you know what I'm doing.
A video.
I am, in fact, doing a video.
I like your phone.
Oh, I'm glad you like my phone. Thank you. Thank you for closing the door. Okay, there you go. Oh wait, I lied. She was in the garage. I didn't know. I just lied to our son. I told him she's not in the garage. I don't know where she is, and I thought I was telling the truth.
I'm sure.
No, I did.
You didn't see me go in there. And then you know what I ran into?
Look at my hair.
It's beautiful. Hang on. So I walked in and I was like, gonna sit in my chair, and then this thing looks up at me. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh my God.
I was like, you're in my chair, and she basically gave me the eye blink of Kitty giving you the finger.
Yeah, I know. We have to come up with your hammock idea. So in the end, I didn't join any fraternities. I just spent my time focusing on my priorities, which were girls and alcohol. Let's see. JC. Hey Spencer, watchmaking question for you. I have a watch with a Seiko NE86 automatic chrono movement. I'm having trouble getting the crown to click back into the date or winding position after setting the time. I think the stem is cut improperly, but I can't decide if that means it's too short or too long. So if you put, it's supposed to have 3 positions, right? So you can get to the outer 2, but you can't get to the last one in. And this is this one that you built? Was this a custom build you did, or is there a specific model? Of many persistent issues I see with Seikos, cutting stems to the wrong length is not one of them. So I'm having trouble getting the crown to click back into the date and winding position after setting the time. So you're pulling it all the way out, and you want to go click. I don't know. Is it a 3-click or a 2-click? Do you only have 2 clicks or 3? Is it that it's jumping over that? Like it's like not there? Like it's just going to glurg? Please let me know. Chino Villanueva. I love watching your videos. Thank you. I saw your video about how your dad fixed everything. My dad was exactly the same. He would try to fix anything and everything, even when he had a hard time with his Parkinson's disease. Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, my father spent 2 years or more rebuilding the back deck on the house because the wood was all old. It was 35, 40 years old. All the wood in the back deck was splitting. And Dad didn't want to do that. He wanted to save it, and all the boards were warping. So what he decided to do is he, by hand, and it was a pretty big deck, he took every board, flipped it upside down, and then reattached it to all the beam, but only after going and reinforcing and sistering all the beams under it from the house, then screwing everything down using a rig he made from the underside so that there were no screw holes or anything. The whole thing was attached from the bottom. And he did this work. It took him years and years and years of work to do this. But he didn't finish the job in the sense that he thought that it was good enough. It wasn't finished, like he didn't sand it down to the point that he got around to like varnishing it or anything. So if you walked on the deck with bare feet, you get all these redwood slivers in your feet. It sucked. Okay, Mr. Villanueva's question goes on. I just started with my Seiko collection. I have a new 7C46 tuna, and the seconds hand does not hit the minute markers. What is the cause, and how would you fix it? Thank you. What is the cause is that the hand wasn't set correctly to begin with. It's pretty crazy. Did you buy it new? Is it new to you? Or was it like brand new from Seiko? The only way to fix it is you have to pull a movement and you have to stop the movement. It still has to have power, and the crown and everything has to be in it, but basically you have to be able to get to the front of the watch where the hands are to reset that. So you would have to basically, you have the crown out, you have the movement out, and then you pull the crown and it stops the movement. pull the sweep seconds hand, and I position it towards 12. Drop it on, make sure that it looks right, push it in, look at the ground, and see if it's hitting as it should. I usually look to make sure that not only is it hitting the markers, but more importantly, that it is dropping right in the middle of the markers, especially the 12 marker. That's my judge. If that thing is right through the middle of the 12 marker, then sometimes it takes 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or... I think I have this clock set to the wrong time. So that's the big thing. And if you get it wrong, you have to pull it off and do it again and check it. Get it wrong, pull it off, do it again, check it. On and on and on and on. It's just time consuming, but that's the only way to do it. Oh, right. Okay. Oz R. Where can I source a new crystal for a 7009 to 3131? I don't know. If I were looking for one, I'd start poking around on eBay. The correct crystal for your watch is, do you have a piece of paper and a pencil? Or a cell phone? Or good memory? The crystal is 305, W is in William, 20, GN00, Golf Nancy 00. So 305 W20GN00. I'd look on eBay. This is from phone 336, phone 336. Mr. Klein, this is crazy. I say that all the time. I'm with you. I'm sitting here with my Uncle Rick's gold Seiko he got for flying a rescue mission in 1968. He was a pilot and a captain he was a pilot and a captain in a special forces group gave him this watch. It reads on the back 6619 8060. And you say it's gold? Like a gold case? What does the dial look like? Does it just have markers, like the civilian version, or is it a green, gray, black dial with Arabic numbers on it, with like the MACV dial? So those are two things I need to know. Not need to know, would like to know. Finding this video is really cool. He died last year. I'm sorry to get that. Died last year, but I have pictures of him in Nam with him and his pilot buddies wearing the watch. How cool. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see a picture of the watch, and if you could take a picture of that picture, that'd be great. And you can email them to us here at kvw@kleinvintagewatchrepair.com. That's kvw@kleinvintagewatchrepair.com. I'd love to see it. Skylar Santana. That's a great name. I'm not sure what kind of character name that is, but that's a good name. Skylar Santana. Hey, Spencer. I'm slowly getting into watch modding, and I eventually want to start learning about how to do restorations. Do you have any advice where I can best learn how to do so as a hobby besides watching your great videos? Well, you watch somebody else's videos. Also, in your experience, how often should a quartz watch and a mechanical watch be taken in for service to extend the life of the movement? I'm kind of the wrong, I learn by doing. So it's not, me being in a classroom situation probably wouldn't have worked, but also classes didn't really exist. So I kind of had to make it up as I went along. But as I said, I learned by doing. So I got watch manuals and I went and bugged, the old watch guys that were still alive back then when I started. They're all literally, they're dead now. I have the most of the shop equipment from one of them here. But and I started, focusing on picking up inexpensive watches to, go through the movements, to have something to, practical things. You can read the literature. There are books, literally the basics of watchmaking. And they're absolutely valid. They're absolutely valid, and they're as good as any information that you'll get, any YouTube video, because you can go right to the thing you want. That's what I would suggest, is get that copy of that book and read through it and see how you feel about it. I mean, part of the reason I do this work with watches and everything else like this, actually the main reason really, is I enjoy them as technology, and I like reading about them, and I like thinking about them. So, I mean, this is something that I would probably continue to do even if it wasn't my job. In fact, I'm pretty sure I would. So I have a lot of love for this, not that you don't, but are you curious about watches to that level? Maybe you'd become more so if you got into it. So get that book and start reading through it, and then, buy a couple 3-4 Seiko 7009s or 7006s on eBay. They're pretty inexpensive, 7005s, but they're the basis for all the modern movements from Seiko, up to and including this one. It's not the same movement, but the underpinning design is. And so that'll give you a window at anything, and why not? In fact, buy some with movements that are destroyed, that have like water or obviously have been neglected, because then you can take them apart without fear. They're already dead. How more dead can you make them? And to start taking them apart, putting them back together, taking them apart, putting it back together, and you do it over and over and over again to the point that it becomes, the things that you learn, you don't have to think about it anymore. They become habit, which means you learn to the point where you can spot where something is out of place. And once you get to that point, then you can start making general diagnostics, which is cool. Quartz watches, servicing mechanical or quartz, if it's a really high-end quartz, it's going to have, jewels and bushings and stuff like that. And in that case, it's going to be treated, the watch is going to be treated like a mechanical watch, but even more so. Because at least a mechanical watch, it's going to stop for some time. Its chances of it running constantly for a 5-year service interval, pretty low. But a quartz watch with a battery, it's just going to sit there and click along in the dark, even if it's not, being worn. So that, service turn is even more critical for a high-end quartz watch. If you're talking about anything of the more modern, normal kind of quartz thing, a lot of them have plastic pivots, because quartz movements aren't really stressed. It's not like a mechanical movement where you have a power source and it's pushing all this power through the thing. Quartz watches basically are backwards. You have a stepper motor, and it sends a single impulse to the second hand, and the second hand goes click, and that is basically the leverage, the gear reduction, and it drives the entire train like that backwards. So they're not really stressed out, but the lubricants they use are the same, which means they have the same life. Mechanical watches, really the way you can tell is, first thing is, how is it? Is it running to your specifications? Is it keeping time? Is it doing what you want to do? If you haven't noticed a problem, and you know the service history, and you know that it was within 5 years, then you can be okay. If it's running poorly, or you don't know the service history, I would service it. So you could go on. Best way to tell is to have a timegrapher, and they're relatively inexpensive. They're like $200-300 now. Don't fiddle around with one of the apps on the cell phones. I've never found one that worked. But you get a timegrapher, and that'll tell you everything. You put a watch on a timegrapher, there's no guessing, there's no wondering, there's no hoping, there's no fearing. You look right at the numbers, and the numbers tell you everything you want to know. That's what I would do. And if the numbers drop, then it's time to service. Nigel Baptiste, another great name. That's a good name. Hi, Spencer. Hello, Mr. Baptiste. I recently bought a 6139 6002 silver dial. I am confident that it is an aftermarket dial and likely also has other replacement parts. I'm fine with it being not 100% original. I love the watch and would like to have you look at it, assess its condition and fix one of the faulty pushers. Do you do that? I do. Well, yes, but also no. So yeah, sure, I do that stuff. And If you want to send me pictures, I can look at the watch and give you my opinion based on pictures. I certainly could fix it, but I'm book solid, so I'm not taking any work at all. I have been recommending people go talk to Daniel Blair of the Blair Watch Project, but he tells me and other people that he also now is fully booked. So I don't know. It's tough. But if you want to send me a picture of your watch, go ahead and I'll be happy to look at it. Sure. Oh, Paul Steele. This is talking back about having bought a watch aboard a steamer. The HMS Pendennis Castle was a passenger vessel running in between Southampton in the UK and Cape Town in South Africa. Watches were sold in the ship's shop and normally were of a middling manufacture, e.g. Omega or even Rolex watches, those being considered work watches in the 1970s. That is really interesting. I don't know why it never occurred to me that steamer ships, like passenger liners, would have shops aboard, but I can't imagine why they wouldn't. That's pretty interesting. Sidewalk Astronomy Netherlands. Please no foul language, sir. You get what you get.
What did you say?
I have no idea. I have no idea what I said.
His mouth has gotten so much worse. Everybody yells at him now.
Nobody yells. You yell at me.
No, Willow yells at you about it all the time.
In any case, you know what happens. I don't do editing. I try to, skip any sailor talk, but sometimes things happen. We're grown-ups and we're men of the world, so I'm assuming that you've heard those before. It's one of those things that happens in life, and I think that I'm sure with time you will find yourself able to forgive me. Watson's World of Wonders. A couple weeks ago, I picked up an Actis with this movement in. Faceted crystal, some dial damage, but keeps excellent time. Only real downside is the crystal's a bit abraded. Paid £8 for it. Paid £8 for it too. Then this week, I found a very cheap 6109, which again keeps excellent time, but the date function is jammed. Case is a bit rough on the older one, but very pleased with both. When you say the date function is jammed, look underneath the crown. If you look between the crown and the case and it's jammed full of crap, you might not be able to press it down. The crown itself also could be packed full of garbage. So if you get that stuff out, you may find that the date actually works fine. It's just you had all this material preventing it. 6109s are interesting. Nobody ever talks about those. They were a very short-lived line that was basically a 6106 without the hacking lever. It was an odd piece. I have one in pieces. It belonged to my friend and co-worker John Lewandowski. But yeah, they're kind of funky. When I was reading up on them, they were like only sold in like Hong Kong or Singapore or some place in the East. Andrew Sayers. Greetings from New Zealand. Amazing work and really enjoy your videos. Spencer, thank you. I noticed in this one, the date stamp on the back of the dial was 7/4. Is that the year of manufacture? Which doesn't make sense for a 60s watch. Or is it a month-year combo like Casebacks? It's a month-year combo like Casebacks. And I responded to you and we talked about it. So 74 in this case is going to be April of 1967. So that is correct. I personally believe that these dial dates were there because those old looms, the old looms, they had a Best Buy date, and you had to, if something was a store, in a supply thing, and it was you got the dial out of the parts drawer, you looked at the date, and it was 5 or 6 years ago. Well, Seiko wouldn't use it because it would have lost a big chunk of its luminosity. But once they switched to the new kinds of looms, they didn't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, it's the same. This was on the 62 MAS video. Francis Palmer. Excellent work, Spencer. Thank you. And after all the years and watches you've worked on, it's great to see you get excited and proud of the work you do. Like a lot of people, I really love to see a watch, especially Seiko, looking and running in its original condition. That is a big must for me, even if they look a bit beaten up. Cheers. Oh, 100%. I can take a bit of wear. It's no problem for me, but the movement has to be where it is. It has to be a completely functional machine. Otherwise, it's nothing but a collection of parts and an unwearable one at that. Yeah, I'm happy that I'm still excited for this stuff. Sometimes I worry, through all these like med changes and crazy stuff, my brain was doing some wacky things, and it's hard to get excited about things. But I've been feeling a lot better, and I find all of a sudden that I'm incredibly interested in and entertained by watches. It's true. It's wild. No, but for a while there, it was kind of like I just didn't care. It was strange. But anyway, no, I've been doing lots of watch work again, which is nice. But I appreciate it. Yeah, they've got to run right. I mean, it'd be like driving a pretty car that has a bent rod. Johnny Powell. Dude, it would be nice to see too how you remove stuff before you move on to the next thing. I make these videos in my own time, basically. They take a lot of work, a lot of time. And my videos are informational rather than instructional. If I were to stop and film every single step of what I did, the videos would be 3 or 4 times longer, and I still wouldn't have caught anything. And all of that information, which is, excess, I don't really need that. I want to show the owner of the watch what I'm doing. I'm not going to show them every single scene. It is what it is. If there's a specific process that you want to see or you have a question, ask me about it rather than making some weird random criticism of how I make my gigantically long free videos. So, also, don't call me dude. I was waiting to see if she picked up on that one. So, Mr. Powell, manners, clarity, and temper your expectations. Okay, Ronbo 710, talking about 6309 SUA versus non-SUA. For those of you who don't know, Seiko, the Seiko 6000 series, like 6309, 6105s, those were created by the SUA division as opposed to the Daini division. But about 4 years, 3-4 years into the 6309 run, they moved the factory from Japan to Hong Kong. And so at that point, the SUA markings on it go away. And so people talk then about SUA, physically made in Japan, versus non-SUA, which is Japanese parts assembled in Hong Kong. Though increasingly over time, it became more that parts were actually being made in-house. I just realized the mic isn't going. Okay, Saul Brook. Hi, Saul. This was a question on Seiko 7002 restoration I just did. In that, just a recap for people, the 7002 was the first mainline diver that was pure Daini. It's right here. The watch in question. There it is. So anyway, it was the first all Daini diver, basically. Previous to this, it was all SUA. They used SUA like design language, but internally it was pure Daini, and it is to this day. So, but one of the things that they did at this point as a cost-cutting measure is they went from a metal dial ring and a cushion, like usually like a plastic ring around the back. But in the 7002s, the plastic movement ring is even crappier, and they're just garbage, and they break right away. And so, but the thing is, I figured out that you can actually go backwards because they hewed so close to a lot of the original SUA designs. SUA, you know, movement rings will fit in this. So you get an older dial ring from an earlier 7000 series that's metal, and you get rid of that white plastic piece of garbage. And then you use a SUA 6000 series dial ring with its integrated spring for cushioning shocks, and you're all good. Yeah, they were all the same movement, Saul. So the transitionals versus, because they made the transitionals and the 150 meter ones simultaneously right up to the end of their production. They only came out with the transitionals so they could have a diver that qualified for the new ISO standards that they themselves had helped write. You know, they're just cutting corners. I mean, plastic costs less than metal. And it's just the way that it is. Seiko, by this point, had already figured out that even though plastic degrades and it'll start breaking to pieces, chances of somebody needing to have that serviced or wanting something to be done about it were basically zero. And they were making these parts out of metal. You know, you're talking at least 3 separate pieces of 3 different kinds of metals with different properties, including spring steel, plated brass, and stamped steel. And so you get rid of those things, you replace them with plastic. Your materials cost, your labor cost, your manufacturing time, all of that stuff goes down for a part that no one is ever going to think about, because in Seiko's mind, as soon as they get a few years off the watch, it's going into the garbage anyway. Which brings us to my next comment from Choco Koi Fish. This dude actually edited this. Not only did he write this, he went back and he edited it, talking about these plastic rings. Literally downgrades, dude. A plastic movement ring is there to, all caps, add shock absorbing abilities. A metal one with just make that shock hit the movement harder. I've never watched misspelled a dumber vid in my life. The plastic inside helps. What the WTF you on? You're a moron. It's one of the, I've had stupid comments come in, but this is just idiotic. There is a saying, you may or may not be familiar with this, that better be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt. You're a fool. Man, this is one of the stupidest comments, you know, and to add insult to you and injury to you, is that you have no idea what you're talking about. And you're saying these things which are absolutely incorrect and just laughably stupid to me. You're saying this stuff to me. That'd be like me walking up to Brad Pitt and giving him tips on how to pick up girls. What WTF are you on?
Well, I have a question.
You have a question?
Okay, so what is the shock absorber or whatever?
Well, you've got that. Okay, you've got a movement, right? And so the movement has to, basically it has to float and be held firmly between the dial. Then you have the movement, and then you have the movement ring. And the movement ring typically involves, because you don't want the dial to move, but you've got to have some shock absorbing something or other in there. And so the movement ring, typically it has some give, or something's built into it. Either it has a spring, or the plastic does it like this. Plastic, to a degree, can be considered shock absorbing, but specifically, actually, the plastic dial ring doesn't do any dial shock absorption because it doesn't move, because it's pressed into the case very firmly from the back. You can't have the movement moving around, otherwise the hands will move around. So it's just one of those things.
Okay.
I just don't, the self-righteous aren't angry. Look at me.
Well, people that can't spell, that's what they do.
Literally downgrades, dude. I'm going to have that put on a t-shirt. That's what I was, literally downgrades, dude. That's awesome. Maybe I could make him a superhero.
What, with Ammonite Man?
Maybe with Ammonite Man. Oh, Ammonite Man. Okay. Minor crisis, but then I got it all figured out. Sabrina took the dog for a walk today, and she came back and she gave me a present.
polished it yet?
No, I haven't done anything to it yet, but you can see the curl. You can see the open chambers there. They're kind of at an angle. And there's a second run of them right there. Yeah, I'll scrub the heck out of this and we'll see what we find. That's going to be pretty cool. Thank you again, honey. Okay, next question. Yes, question. That's what we call them. Ian D-E-R-Z-S-I. Derzzi? Sorry if I got that wrong. I'm not quite sure which watch model that is. I forgot. So, oh, it must be one of the new 62 MASs. I have this same watch. Well, the 051 black dial version. It showed up brand new, running 23 seconds a day late. This was peak pandemic time frame. When I contacted Seiko to send it in for service, they told me a turnaround time of up to 90 days, which I was not okay with. So instead, I purchased a I purchased a timegrapher and figured I'd attempt at regulating it myself. When I put it on the timegrapher, it showed beat error of 5.3 and 19 seconds a day negative. Kind of shocking on a brand new watch. 5.3, it was more than halfway in beat error. It would have been, the lines would have been like that far apart. Like if this thing was the screen of your timegrapher, you'd be watching this thing and be going dugga dugga, and you'd have these two lines going right across it, actually down like that. Wow. Kind of shocking on a brand new watch. However, to my surprise and relief, the amplitude showed between 280 and 305 degrees. I got the beat error down to 0.1 and time to +1 seconds a day, and ever since then it has been freakishly accurate. I mean an average of 1.2 seconds a week accurate if I wear it continuously and not hand wind it, which I think is nuts for a mechanical watch. I did notice that if I hand wind it to max, it will run maybe 0.8 seconds a day fast. I'm assuming this is normal. Yeah, because it's what I call, it's a winding spike. When you hand wind it, you get it way up to the top, you're going to get all this force, and so it's going to gain a little bit of time, or it can. I can't afford, nor would I really want to spend that much on the real SLA 017 reissue. Oh, this is about the WRUW. Yeah. Okay, so this is the 6105 8000 homage that they came out with back over there. For the time being, I'm still very much in love with this watch. That's great. That's great. And good job regulating it. That's awesome. I've never seen a brand new watch come in with 5.3, but these are built by WRUW, so I would have to assume that whoever was assembling the watch must have knocked it. Must have, and they didn't check the numbers afterwards or something. That's wacky. Oh, this is yet another comment about. I put it away. One last comment about the 7002, 7009. Imagine that. A dive watch being used for diving. So many of these watches are never used for diving, which strikes me as very gimmicky. I mean, you can't blame Seiko for what people plan to do with the things they buy. I mean, I own a chainsaw. How often do I use it? Of course, I wouldn't use it for anything else. I mean, I could use it. I could build a go-kart around it. No, you really could. That's how you do it. That's one of the ways to do it anyway.
Okay.
It's just one of those things, but yeah, some of them actually get used. I think the point is that all of them have the potential. But some people do use their watches as dive watches, and then it breaks and you lose the watch and it sits in the ocean for years or however long this was there, and it pits like crazy, and then it ruins the movement, and it's just, that's just awesome, isn't it? But no, I'm just being a jackass. Some people use things for what they're used for. Other people, it's just neat to have things. A lot of people have cars that'll go very, very fast, and I don't think very many of them race them.
You have a car that goes very, very slow.
No, it doesn't move at all.
So it's really slow.
It is really slow. Folks, believe it or not, that's the end. That's it.
I had perfect timing.
You did, in fact, have perfect timing. That's it. Friday, folks, you are done. And I will talk to you on the flip side. Bye.